The HR Happy Hour Network is proudly sponsored by Workhuman. Nearly 9 in 10 HR leaders say they don't have a strong leadership bench. Workhuman's Future Leaders gives organizations a smarter way to build one. Future Leaders is the first talent intelligence solution to identify high potential VP plus talent already within your workforce, up to 4 years before promotion. Using proprietary AI and real-time recognition data, it uncovers the leadership signals hidden in everyday work, long before traditional succession planning can. It's a smarter, data-driven approach to building tomorrow's leaders. Learn more at workhuman.com. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to the HR Happy Hour Network. My name is Steve Boese. I'm with Trish Steed. Trish, how are you? You look great, ready to go back from your recent escapades with the medical community. And
That's
yeah,
right.
ready to go.
I have a brand new knee. Like, this is a whole new world. I can't wait to get out this fall and like run circles around everybody. So no, seriously, it's been great. And I have to tell you, I mean, we're going to be talking about recognition. You're so good at giving me recognition. So on those few times where I was trying to get back into work and you'd be like, you're doing great. That was
We
very
try,
appreciated.
but it's important, and we've talked about it a lot on the show recently. Check out our recent show we did about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders documentary, because our guest is Tom Libretto, by the way. I'm going to welcome him right now because I'm staring right at him, and I don't want to have a long conversation and not welcome Tom. Tom is the president at Workhuman. Workhuman, a huge supporter of the HR Happy Hour Network, of course. But last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, we were doing a show about the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders documentary. And on that show, really just unsolicited, we said, these cheerleaders are dying for recognition in the workplace. They were begging for it from their leaders. And we pointed out how it's a perfect application, right, of recognition tools to where people, and Tom, we'll start right with that. Tom, are we seeing that with younger people? Because I mentioned in the pre-show, these were a bunch of Gen Z folks who were just desperate for more recognition from their leaders in the workplace.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the ebbs and flows of demographic changes within the workforce bring all sorts of new dynamics to what the current expectations are around what I am going to get from an employer. And recognition is something that kind of transcends those demographic groups, but certainly for more digitally native, folks like we're seeing with Gen Zers today in the workforce, there's a high premium on just general feedback and being recognized for the contribution that one is making to the workforce, certainly as much, if not more, than we see in other age bands.
Yeah. I wonder too, Tom, and I know we're going to really dive in deep on this today, but as I was kind of watching it, I'm thinking I wanted those same moments of recognition or just feedback when I was in my 20s, and there really wasn't a way to do that digitally.
Yeah.
I think, that's part of it too, right? People now entering the workforce, really at whatever age, they know it exists. And so it makes you really crave it. It's like, we know our bosses could be giving us more feedback and more recognition, or peers, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, why don't we dive into today though? We've talked a little bit about DCC on the last show, so let's get into actual
we can't make this
applications
the
of
all
it.
DCC network, but
Right?
obviously in mid to the second half of 2026, 87% of the conversations we're having about the world of work are about AI, or tangentially or directly involved with AI tools, AI technology. And one of the things we wanted to talk to Tom about is, hey, let's think about AI. Lots of companies are not maybe seeing the returns on investment from AI, or are struggling to find the applications. I think a big part of the problem is the data that we're asking AI to help us understand, to analyze, to train the AI models on. And Tom, I know Workhuman has done a ton of great work here in developing tools where AI can help interpret really important, rich data in the organization. So first off, I'd love you to share your thoughts around, hey, what do we need to feed into these AI tools to really generate that bang and that return that we're looking for?
Yeah, it's the question of the hour, and I think you said it early on. It's in what formats and where can data be synthesized in a way that is not just readable but interpretable by AI. That's why you're seeing most organizations now running for the or mandating that workers across the organization document their processes, their workflows in Markdown files, which is becoming fast the standard for AI readability, so that those things can be more readily automated and you're not fed, false positives when you're
Mhm.
trying to do something with AI that you used to do somewhat differently yesterday. Um, and for us as as kind of a subject matter expert in the area of HCM and specifically recognition, we feel an obligation to do some of that heavy lifting on behalf of our clients. So we've invested heavily in AI technologies that are interrogating recognition data
Mhm.
so that our clients don't have to, and that we're able to produce post-processed insights out of that recognition data so that are immediately usable and viable to supplement or in some cases completely replace some traditional HR workflows.
I'm glad you started with the HR workflows because I think that's where the natural HR leaders, C-suite, that's where they think to start, Tom. But one of the things that's fascinated me, and I'd love you to get into it a little bit, is when it comes to the recognition data, and it's that zero party data.
Yeah.
And I don't know if everyone's familiar with that term, but if you could maybe explain sort of the relevance of that type of data and why it's important early on in your AI journey to understand and how that kind of contributes to your overall success with it.
Yeah, of course. So we define zero party data as information that is voluntarily provided by anyone, by a worker, by an employee, without asking them to do so. So essentially, it's the knowledge that is resonant in the minds of your individuals around your workforce, that they voluntarily are sharing with the organization. And in our world, that's in the context of observing values or success behaviors that they identify in their peers in the flow of work, and they're then writing about what they observed in their own words and using really, in some cases, elaborate language to describe the contributions that their peers are making. So within the context of that, what would on face value look to be a very simple thank you message, there is an unbelievably robust and authentic set of information, contained within that singular moment, and then extrapolated across tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands across an organization. You all of a sudden have a really, really powerful data set to work from.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you think about that, Tom, this is one of my favorite. It was a visual diagram. I think probably started with Eric Mosley showing it in one of his keynotes, but diving into kind of the tearing apart like a piece of recognition data and really breaking it down into what it could reveal if it's done well, if it's done thoughtfully. And Workhuman also provides tools to help people actually get better at providing those recognitions as well, to be a little more thoughtful about them too. So we're not just saying thanks, great job, Trish, right? That's
Right.
Yeah.
nice to say, but we don't learn too much from that. But if you think about a piece of recognition that might say, Trish, you did a wonderful job supporting our big client. You put in the extra effort and you worked with the team of developers in India to show dedication, heart, care, and on that back end website development project you did, right? All the things you can put into one of those
Yeah.
recognitions. And now all of a sudden, we're thinking about teamwork and values and dedication to customer and relationships and inclusivity and more, right? There's so much
Yeah.
there, Tom. I'd love for you maybe to talk a little bit about the power of recognition data, say, compared to some of the other data we throw AI tools at, which is nice, but maybe not as evocative, if you will.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's almost limitless the types of things we're starting to find or finding really in these recognition messages. You mentioned a few. You can, writ large, you can start to understand collaboration patterns around an organization based on who's writing down, the facts of who's working with who and who contributed, at what level to a project win or a customer win or what have you. We're also picking up really, in some cases subtle, in some cases very strong signaling around skills, hard and soft,
Mhm.
that are being demonstrated by employees, and where our HR strategies are fast moving in the direction of skills-based architectures and career pathing and defining, that what the workforce of the future will need from a skills, skills perspective. The authenticity of those recognition moments as a major source of both skills identification and validation, is a huge opportunity for organizations.
Yeah, I think especially in these last, I don't put a number exactly, but say 5 to 6 years, especially with Workhuman, what I've seen that's been really different from when I was actually in that seat, like VP of HR, CHRO seat, is that there is such a connection that you all are making that you then pass on to the users. And I think that's maybe where I would say organizations aren't fully understanding that value of that connection, right? So I would have thought back in the day, a recognition program was this whole separate thing. It's nice to have. It sits kind of over here, it does its thing, right? It's been a very pleasant surprise, I think, because every time I'm at Workhuman Live, for example, I'm seeing real clients talking about, oh, yes, compliance is important and all these other things, but you know what? Our recognition data actually is driving our safety results. It's driving our
Yeah.
not just our productivity results, but it's driving our attrition results, right? What kinds of things are you hearing from whether it's current customers or potential customers? Are they making that connection, or are you really having to sort of orchestrate and help them understand how AI and the tools you offer can give them that really connected workforce picture?
Oh yeah, I mean it's just fascinating territory, and we love nothing more than when a client will come to us and say, "Hey, we would love to know what type of impact recognition is having on plant productivity or
Yeah.
absentee a reduction in absenteeism or the old chestnut being top talent retention. But it now the level of questions are getting way more sophisticated,
Mhm.
and we're finding ourselves doing a lot of regression analysis with clients that are providing us some of their own data so that we can correlate it with their recognition program activity and start to show them where recognition activity thresholds are having a correlative effect on many different types of business outcomes, not just people outcomes, but
Mhm.
real hard financial business outcomes.
And that's what a CFO is going to challenge any HR leader for, right? They're going to
Of
go,
course.
yeah, you want to, you want to bring in this solution, and I just think, yeah, we still need to continue as HR professionals to get better at articulating those connections. So I do love the work that you're doing on that because, again, just being an analyst now, hearing that was like, I mean, I'm sitting there thinking like, oh my goodness, if I would have been able to make those connections back in the day, like that would have been a true game changer. And I'm not exaggerating. I couldn't exaggerate enough, probably.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that, to the point to your question, part B of the question about how AI can help expedite a lot of this, I think even today, there's a lot of data cross-referencing and sharing that we need to do in order to produce that type of quantifiable ROI evidence, based analysis. I think not so far in the future, the residents of that recognition data right alongside an organization's operational data, with AI then on top, becomes a queryable asset base. So I can ask those types of questions and get an immediate answer without a research project, that could take some time to produce the results.
Right.
And that's one of the really powerful applications, right? We're seeing with the application of AI against this really rich data set that we've talked about, the richness and the value of that data set. Um, Another area, Tom, I know where Workhuman spent some time in and has rolled out some really interesting new solutions is around helping organizations with identifying potential leaders.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that because I do feel like in the AI age, one of the things we're seeing is companies are struggling here because we might not be bringing in enough new talent because maybe some of that new talent's being disrupted by AI, but maybe we've decided we're going to get a little leaner or a little flatter in the organization, and maybe some of our managerial talents left the organization. And now all of a sudden, oh my gosh, where are my next set of leaders coming from? And I'd love for you to share a little bit about how you guys are approaching that problem.
100%. It's really exciting stuff. Again, back to kind of those traditional HR processes. If you think about succession planning, as a derivative of kind of the old performance management process, and nobody likes doing, no one is particularly good at, and by the time you reach the end of the year, remembering the corpus of work and the values and contribution that each employee had is near impossible.
Yeah.
And then if you try to extrapolate out of those types of, very kind of point in time and fraught processes, who my high potential talent is that I should put on fast track development programs because they're showing the potential to ascend to leadership positions in the future. The whole thing is just based on a whole string of biases. So what we set out to do was look at what an organization deems as important values, success behaviors, and signals around future talent or around talent development in general.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing we did was built a series of models that understands what's important to an individual company based on what we see, the recognition activity we see paired with what actually happened from a promotion point of view over time within that organization. Who was observed demonstrating these values or skills, and did that lead to promotions? That's a very simplistic way to describe the initial analysis. We then started to look at, can we then predict based on current signal strength around who's being recognized by who, how often, for what, in what domains, what cross domains, etc. Could we accurately predict years before a VP plus advancement would actually happen, whether we could predict it now accurately? So we ran some analysis on, with the help of a couple of our clients, or with their permission, and we're hitting at a plus 80% accuracy rate 3 to 5 years prior to when people actually got promoted. So we rewound the clock, ran the models, made the predictions, and then played it forward to see what actually happened. So we're now able to look at a robust recognition program in a global organization and quite confidently predict the list of people that will factually be promoted within 3 to 5 year times to senior positions in that organization. The cool thing is we can also show them the people that we predicted years ago that would have been promoted but left the organization.
Mm.
Wow.
And that's the eye opener on oh my gosh, if only we had known, we wouldn't have, number one, we wouldn't have seen that institutional knowledge walk out the door. But we also wouldn't have to bear the cost of bringing in a new senior leader at in many cases, a large expense.
Mm.
See, and this is the kind of stuff I think HR professionals get into the business to do, right? It's making those connections. And you mentioned bias. It's such a biased process the way it currently runs. So being able to tie that actual recognition data to it, I think gives you that subjectivity you want. I can think of every job I've ever worked when we were sitting through, annual reviews and whatnot. And people just have their favorites. It doesn't mean they're the most qualified. People have people that are super highly qualified they just don't like, or maybe having a tough year for whatever reason. I guess my question is, can you also play it out the other way? Say you have leaders who have been in their positions for a very long time, and maybe they're not the most successful people who need to be in those roles any
Yeah.
longer. Can
Mm,
you tie, or is there starting to be a tie between the recognition data that maybe they are not receiving and seeing that maybe someone else is more qualified? Is there that correlation yet, or is that still a little ways away?
Yeah, there's certainly, well, intuitively, the absence of recognition is a signal in and of itself.
mm,
Right.
For sure. The other element of what we're able to expose with these models, in addition to both showing, well in advance who your future leaders will be in the future, we also look and expose the what we call who are the talent magnets.
Mm,
Who are those managers in an organization that have a high propensity for developing a disproportionate number of leaders in your eventual leaders in your
mm.
organization? They themselves may never ascend to senior leadership level, but
right.
good grief, they are the gold dust in your organization that you want to wrap your arms around and understand what they're doing to cultivate talent, disproportionately better than their peers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that would have been super helpful because again, I think, think back to even many organizations now, you're sitting there trying to do it just based on what you know and what you see
Sure.
without anything to back it up. And so again, back to being in that HR seat, I can't imagine going to my CEO or CFO or whoever and saying, "Yeah, I think this is our talent magnet." And it very well might be, but I have no data to back it up. So
Right.
having that I think it's monumentally different than what we've had in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that sort of hits up against, I think, one of the other real strengths of recognition data, and also one of the real challenges of sort of many of the applications of AI right now, which is there is still data, a lot of data, important data that traditional HCM transaction systems just don't capture. They're not built to capture it. They don't have a mechanism to capture it. So things like influence, things like this person's a really good teammate, this person really, puts the customers first all the time, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
things that are very, very important to the organization that the transactional system can't really capture. Now, the transactional system captures a lot of interesting things, right? Including who got promoted, right? We'll probably look there to figure that out. But it's missing a lot of really, really important data about how the work is actually getting done,
Yeah.
right? And I know, Tom, at Workhuman, you guys think about that really, really intently, right? And try to and surface that to customers. I think that's one of the problems with AI in general in talent management is it can't find those things that are just not in those transactions as they're typically stored.
Yeah, 100%. I think most of what transpires in HCM based processes is the collection of declarative data.
Mhm.
And whether that is, a process that involves, um, re- you know, doing a write-up on an employee, rating their performance and their potential, all the way through issuing a survey to employees to come back into the HCM and self-declare what skills they have or
Mhm.
what L&D courses they've completed. And then we imply that they have those skills. But it's all kind of, as you mentioned, transactional and declarative based. When all of a sudden you supplement that with what really is a written narrative about each individual that is way more robust and authentic because it's coming from your peers without asking them to do so, And when that happens, they tend to write verbose, dialogues and narratives about the employees. You get this incredibly rich tapestry that you can either use to supplement what's collected via other means, or in some cases, refute it and replace it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think this is just all a good example of, it's more than just an award, right? It's more than
Mhm.
just some icon that you get through an email or maybe points for something. That's all
Uh,
important. Those things are important to the individuals. I'm not wanting to downplay that, but it's so much more valuable when you're looking holistically at how recognition truly impacts the health of your organization. So, I guess my question around it would be for organizations maybe that have not thought about recognition or AI, for example, in terms of workforce decisions. What would you offer as advice maybe to them in just starting to consider some of these things? How should they maybe go about the first, year or two of looking into this?
Yeah, I think in the past, the value proposition around an employee recognition program investment was largely around strengthening and elevating culture as something you take off of the wall and start to experience in practice, and with that comes higher levels of employee engagement and therefore productivity. um, we're almost overly excited of flipping that around and saying, well, the real win and value proposition is that rich narrative that you're collecting around the employee base that describes how work is happening around the organization. That is arguably as powerful as the motivational lift you get with recognition itself. So those are two sides of the same coin because they don't compete with one another. They're completely complementary. Uh, so if I'm a CHRO today, I would be really excited by the proposition of I get to elevate the culture, drive employee engagement, heighten levels of productivity across the organization, reduce unnecessary attrition and therefore cost, and all of a sudden I have this rich, tapestry of data that can be mined with AI to tell me things that I would never know about my organization otherwise. It's super exciting.
It is exciting. And this isn't new. People might think like, oh, this is new because of AI. You all have had this stance for literally decades, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
When it was still just being drawn on a
yeah,
whiteboard
yeah,
or
yeah.
something, right? And so I just want people to understand this isn't new thought for you all. You all have been operationalizing this each step of the way. And it's very important, I think, to me as someone who used to buy a lot of technology. I know that when you need to spend your money, there's many considerations, right? I
Sure.
think part of it for me as an HR leader was trusting that the organization has been truly thinking about these things all along, right? And then figuring out how technology can make that happen.
Yeah.
So I just want to commend you personally for the work you all are doing is doing just that, right? It's the problems that we've all had since the beginning of the workforce, right? And so we knew what the problems were, we just really could not address it. It's exciting to think if this is where we are now, I can't even imagine where you all are going to be in a year, you know?
Yeah, no, no. I mean, every day is bringing a new, aha moment, which is an incredibly exciting place to be at the moment.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, this is, I mean, the value proposition here, the ROI, the justification for doing a really robust, well thought of, well funded recognition program was always there. Even if when it was just
Yeah,
engagement and productivity, that was a very compelling argument. And now when you say there are all these additional workforce insights that can be layered on top of that, and all this rich information and all these answers you could get about your organization and the people in it on top of all that, to me it's such a compelling story, and one that hopefully more organizations are going to get ready to write for themselves.
yeah. And look, there's also how in the world am I going to find new investment to put into something like this if I don't already do it? And the reality is the those investments already exist around an organization, and we often talk about the bonus pools that are created within large organizations are massive amounts of money that have a shelf life of emotional impact and
Yeah.
engagement impact that is measured in days, maybe sometimes a week or two after
Yeah.
it lands. And those are big monetary awards at those point in times, that flow directly into someone's bank account, and it's forgotten. Where at half of the cost of that, if they're, if those awards are metered out on a way more frequent basis across the length of a year, you never see an engagement decline. It is always up,
Mhm.
and therefore productivity, motivation, and the data collection aspect are always on. So those budgets exist. It's simply a matter of redirecting them into something that is proven to be a much higher return on an HR investment.
Yeah, I think too, those types of bonuses you're describing or amounts of money, those often become expected. And that's also why they don't have that much
Yeah.
impact, right?
Right.
If you know
Right.
that I'm going to get a 10,000 bonus every year, yeah, it's nice, but whatever. I know I expect it. I think the type of recognition you all are doing is what's unexpected, especially because it's coming with that um w- description created, whether it's by a peer or a leader or whomever is giving you that. It's heartfelt. You all are actually helping people not just write some, hey, great job, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too. It's unexpected. And to me, like I said, I think if someone were to just send me that paragraph they wrote, gosh, that's going to stick with me for maybe forever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That might actually
Yeah.
be the
Yeah. Yeah.
first time someone has said something that nice to me about my work ever. And so the money comes and goes, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
it's
Yep. Yep.
those moments that's what keeps you on a team, that's what keeps you with a leader, that's what keeps you with a company, is those feeling like I matter. What I'm doing here matters, and it's not always money,
No.
right?
Mhm.
No. No. No.
So,
No.
Often not.
It is that we're blown over every day with the stories that come in from our clients, and the verbatims that we read on LinkedIn where people are sharing,
Yeah.
even to the money point, what they were able to buy with their points, um, and they're giving
sure.
public thanks to their company for them being able to do that, whether it's take their kids on a trip to Disney World, or we saw one come through from our client LinkedIn about someone who uh, downloaded a Best Buy, not a Best Buy, Home Depot gift card to buy the lumber to build a handicap ramp for his elder grandmother, and he
Wow.
shared that publicly, and
That's
it
Yeah,
was
awesome.
just, yeah, I mean, it's just heartwarming.
all
Yeah.
because someone thought to say thank you to him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
It's
yeah,
really
yeah,
heartfelt.
that simple.
right.
I, yeah, I think we've really, you know, scratched the surface only, but there's so much there about just all the amazing things that are happening with recognition, with AI, the combination of the two, unlocking so much capability and insight. And again, still doing all those wonderful things that it's done for years and years and years, right? That none of that's gone away. So I think it's a compelling story. It's one you should get connected to. You go to workhuman.com, of course, to learn more. Tom, anything else you wanted to share with the listeners before we let you go and you get back to your busy life and back to the farm?
Yeah, yeah, right. I think the other, just one last innovation, so to speak, that we really hit on here, starts to move the value of this recognition data well beyond HR.
Mm.
Because again, resident in all of those messages are descriptions of the types of projects people are working on. And when you kind of zoom out and look at that writ large across an organization, you can start to understand how aligned a workforce is or isn't to the key strategic initiatives of that company that the CEO announced to the board and to the street
Yeah.
as the top priorities in the organization. So we've built a capability called Topics, that is that part of the product that is now interrogating those recognition moments to see the trended alignment with what the company itself has declared to be the company's priorities, and whether or not people are actually working on those things, which is again, fascinating territory for AI based capabilities and analysis, but using that rich data source and applying it to a very, very different set of questions within an organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
pretty
Tom,
cool.
every time we speak with you, I feel like we get those new little nuggets, right? So now the next time we talk, we'll have to see like how organizations feeling about that. If there's misalignment, maybe, right? We'll have to have a future conversation on what they're actually doing with it. But
yeah.
thank you so much for your time. This has been so valuable. I mean, I feel like I learn every single time. Steve, I know you do too.
Yeah, it's great to see Tom again and to talk more with our friends at Workhuman about what's going on, and just really encourage folks to check out what they're doing there. If you haven't in a while, you'll be really pleasantly surprised too, right? If you come back to Workhuman, if it's been some time. But Tom Libretto, president of Workhuman, thank you so much. Trish, thank you. Welcome back. Sort of. You've been back, but welcome back officially. And that's it. Go check out all the show archives at hrhappier.net or on our YouTube or Spotify or everywhere else. My name is Steve Boese. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.